Hey guys, welcome to today's video. We're going to be talking about the LA Chargers offense and what to expect from them next season. Before we get started though, please drop a quick like and a sub on today's video. That would really help my channel grow. I'd really appreciate that. And with that said, I hope you enjoy the video and let's dive right into it. So in today's video, we're going to be going over this Chargers offense and what to expect from them next season. If we look at their team from last year, we see Herbert led them with 4,336 passing yards. Austin Ekeler was their rushing leader with 530 rushing yards. Remember, he missed a large part of the season due to I think it was a high ankle sprain. And then Keenan Allen led the team in receiving yards with 992 receiving yards. But overall, really good season for this Chargers offense. And we can see where they ranked among other teams in the entire NFL. Team offense-wise, total offense, ranked number 19th. They were ranked 19th in the league in that regard. If we want to see them by their yards, I don't know if this will give this to me. Maybe it won't give it to me. Okay, it won't give it to me. Passing yards-wise, they were 6th best in the league in that regard. And rushing offense-wise, they were number 18 in the league. So overall, a pretty good season. Sorry for my, I think my camera just cut out for a sec. So overall, pretty good season for this Chargers offense last year. This year, I think that they can play even better. I really do. I think that they improved the offensive line, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But, you know, another year of Justin Herbert after what he was able to do last year really excites me. Obviously, came on into the scene in the second game against the Kansas City Chiefs after, you know, Tyrod Taylor's lung got punctured by the team doctor. And then Herbert ends up tearing the league apart, throwing for the 6th most passing yards, 4,336 passing yards, 31 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 69.5 QBR. Was absolutely phenomenal as a rookie. I think, he won Rookie of the Year. And he was absolutely phenomenal, especially playing without Austin Ekeler for a little bit of time, playing without really that much depth at wide receiver. Or that many targets past Keenan Allen and Hunter Henry. He was absolutely phenomenal, especially using his legs too. So he did a really good job overall. Also a 66.6% completion percentage, with some concerns, you know, coming into the year as a, you know, how accurate could he be? Overall, Herbert was absolutely fantastic, and I think that we'll see a very similar season next year from him. Probably a little regression. I don't think it's going to be exactly the same type of season, but it's going to be similar numbers in that regard. Now, though, let's look at the running game. And for the running game, it starts with Austin Ekeler. This guy is much more than a running back, though. He is a pass catcher, arguably the best pass-catching running back in the league other than Christian McCaffrey. 530 rushing yards last year, 1 rushing touchdown. But you got to look at the receptions. 54 catches, 403 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. He's an all-around threat at the running back position. You know, he can catch the ball in the backfield. He does a ton of different things. He was an undrafted free agent. It's his 4th NFL season. He's playing 4 NFL seasons. Coming up to age 26, I mean, this guy is just a phenomenal running back because what he's able to do is he's such a dynamic athlete. He's so strong and so physical. He can run routes like a wide receiver. He can create space for himself in the passing game, and he's such an overall athletic weapon for this Chargers offense because you can line him up in a variety of different situations. He's so versatile. He's so useful out wide. You can throw checkdowns to him, and he's gonna produce for you. That's what he does, and I think that, you know, if he's able to stay healthy, 700 rushing yards and 700 receiving yards, that's definitely within reach, and, you know, 8 total touchdowns. This guy is an all-around weapon for this Chargers offense, and he was one of Herbert's favorite targets, especially when he was healthy. And then you got to look at Justin Jackson and Joshua Kelly, much more the power backs of this team. Joshua Kelly's much more the power back. Justin Jackson's a little bit more of an elusive guy, but they're both more leaning towards that power back area. But those guys are going to be those goal line backs for them. Joshua Kelly had some nice games last year. Justin Jackson had some nice games last year, but really Austin Ekeler is that number 1 guy, and that clear number 1 guy for this Chargers team. When it comes to wide receivers, though, it starts all about Keenan Allen. It's all about Keenan Allen and that Keenan Allen to Justin Herbert connection. That Justin Herbert to Keenan Allen connection, I should say. 100 receiving yards, 100 receptions for him last year, tied for 7th in the NFL. 992 receiving yards and 8 receiving touchdowns. And I mean, this guy was being targeted like 30% of the time. He was getting an insane target share. You can see 147 total targets for Keenan Allen. Had one of the most productive seasons of his career, you know, catches-wise, touchdowns-wise. We've seen him get above 1,000 receiving yards before. But overall, Keenan Allen, you know, has been so great ever since coming to the league in 2013. And this is just, last year was a continuation. There were some injury concerns earlier in his career, but he's a guy that, when healthy, is a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL, and last year proved it. He was absolutely dominant with Justin Herbert. Really, just overall excellent, you know, making those spectacular grabs, making big catches, big plays, all the time, 24/7, 365, week in, week out, keeping the Chargers in games. And him and his connection to Justin Herbert is what really elevated this offense. Really a big part of this offense, Keenan Allen. The offense passing the football runs through him. It runs through Ekeler too, but it's Allen's the big play guy. He's the deep threat guy. He's the guy who can take a check down, take a screen, and break it off for a 25-yard gain. He's that kind of player. And paired with Mike Williams, who, after coming off an 1,000-yard receiving season, took a little bit of a step back with 48 catches for 756 yards and 5 receiving touchdowns. But he's much more of a guy to space out the field, use his size and length to go up and catch footballs. One of the better 50-50 jump ball catchers in the NFL. Really good red zone threat. But more importantly, he's a guy that spreads the field out. You see that average yards per catch, 15.8, 10th in the NFL in that regard. But he can be productive too, and he has the ability to be an 1,000-yard receiver. Do I think he's going to be an 1,000-yard receiver next year? No. I think that was pretty much a one-time thing, but an 800-yard campaign with 6 touchdowns is definitely within reach for him. And I think that, he's a nice complement to Keenan Allen, especially as 2 bigger, stronger receivers on the outside. If we look at, Jalen Guyton and Tyron Johnson, those 2 guys were really productive too last year as pass catchers, really able to spread the field out, use their speed and athleticism in open space to give Justin Herbert another option to go to, especially when Keenan Allen had some injuries, especially when Mike Williams had some injuries. These wide receivers were thin. They really were thin, but Herbert was able to do the best with what he had, and Tyron Johnson and Jalen Guyton and their speed really elevated this passing game. So I like the wide receivers, and I really like the weapons of this offense. Also, you got to talk about Jared Cook coming over this offseason via free agency from the New Orleans Saints. Remember that the Chargers got rid of Hunter Henry this offseason, couldn't re-sign him, couldn't bring him back. But Jared Cook has been productive throughout his career, and sure, he's 34, and he's up there in age. 37 catches last year for him, 504 receiving yards and 7 receiving touchdowns. Remember that we saw a little bit of Taysom Hill last year, so that's the reason his numbers are a little bit down catch-wise. But this guy's a really all-around solid tight end. He's not that top 10 tight end anymore. He's got the ability to have a top 10 tight end season, though. But more importantly, what Jared Cook brings to the table is he brings a guy who has that veteran leadership, who's good in the red zone, who's good after the catch, and in a way, he's just a worse version of Hunter Henry. He's a worse and slightly, I think, maybe a little bit more explosive version of Hunter Henry, a little bit better in the red zone. But he's a guy who is going to use his big frame to create space for himself. He's going to be a quarterback-friendly target, using his big frame to haul and catch, especially in the red zone. But I think this red zone offense is going to be scary with Ekeler as a true elusive guy. You've got some true power backs like Josh Kelly and Justin Jackson, but more importantly, the big frames of Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Jared Cook are going to be a lot to handle for opposing defenses. So I think that this offense, throwing the football in the red zone, is going to be very productive. But finally, the offensive line. The main concern of this football team going into next year was the offensive line. How could they improve the offensive line going into the offseason? And obviously, they're not going to have Pouncey next year. They're not going to have Trey Turner, who were their additions over the past few years to try and bolster that offensive line. Bryan Bulaga was their addition last year, and he's going to be a stalwart at right tackle. I think he had some injuries last year, but center Corey Linsley, bringing him on a big deal, basically a 1-year prove-it deal, and then a 4-year extension kind of thing if he plays well, because of the team option after the first year to continue him. But he's arguably the best center in the entire league. Will really help in pass protection, really help in run blocking, a massive part of that Packers offense last year. And then Rashawn Slater at left tackle, bringing him in the draft. He is a plug-and-play player wherever you put him, and he's going to be absolutely fantastic at left tackle. He's going to be a solid run blocker and a solid pass protector for Justin Herbert, protecting that blind side. The only concern for me is really right guard. Oday Aboushi, not a really good right guard. I'm kind of concerned about that, but Matt Feieler, or Feieler at left guard. I think he's a former Steeler. He's a veteran guard. He's not average. He's probably a below average guard, probably a below average starter, definitely a below average starter, but he's not a liability. He has veteran experience, and he's got that experience. Aboushi does scare me, but really this offensive line improved from last year. Slater's a big upgrade. I think Corey Linsley is arguably the best center in the NFL. If not, in my opinion, he is the best center in the NFL. That'll be huge for that Chargers run game. And then Bulaga at right tackle, I think is, he's going to have a good year this year too. So overall, the offensive line's looking better. The weapons are there, and I think that Justin Herbert, if he can build off of what he was able to build last year with a full season of Austin Ekeler, with another season of Keenan Allen, and bringing in Jared Cook with that veteran experience, I think that Justin Herbert could be really successful. And if Justin Herbert's successful, then just like last year with even limited resources, and what he was able to do with Jalen Guyton and Tyron Johnson really showed how special Herbert is. And if Herbert can continue to be that special, this Chargers offense will be top 10 in the league next year, just with how they improve the offensive line and the weapons they have on the outside. And with that said, that's pretty much going to end the video for today. Did you agree with my analysis? Why or why not? Leave your comments and thoughts in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Also, if you're new around here, please drop a like and a sub on today's video. I'd really appreciate that. And with that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. And until next time, see ya.